conditions here in the city of Port Arthur. The views and opinions expressed on this show are solely those of our studio guests, callers, and hosts, and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of this station or its management, the Breeze. KSAP 96.9 LPFM. Good morning, Councilman.
Good morning, Papa, Sonny Man, and good morning, everybody here in the city. Had me a week off, so hopefully we didn't miss anything last week. If I wasn't here, hopefully. But today we're going to talk about our school district here in the city of Port Arthur. We're going to talk about the Port Arthur Independent School District. Now, as you all know, I like to deal with black and white here on the show, pass out information that is strictly factual and not opinionated. So this morning is going to be a show in which we're going to just be throwing some things out and discussing stuff. So we probably get some calls this morning because I'm not going to be the subject matter expert on this, and I won't have a lot of documentation here to support what I say. It'll be basically information that I want to discuss and put out. It gives people something to think about in reference to our school district. And it's things I sit back and I think about when I read articles or hear people discussing things. And one of the things that I've read was test scores and stuff with some of the school districts and the makeup of these school districts that were having problems with test scores. So I jotted down a few things I would like to throw out and discuss with you all today. And if you feel free to put any comments on pertaining to it or add to the discussion, just call in at 982-0247. Once again, 982-0247. We're talking about the independent school district, the role of the school district. You know, the school district is a vital part in any community and neighborhood, cities. And the reason is because that is actually the future of your cities, your communities, your state, and also the United States, because the kids attending school are the future leaders, the future citizens here, not in just the city of Port Arthur, but the state of Texas and also the United States and anywhere around the world. So it's our future. And our kids should be looked at in a fashion like our money. It should be an investment. You know, we should put everything we have in ensuring that they have the best opportunity to achieve and put them in an environment in which they can achieve, because that is probably the best return that anyone can have invested in. They're going to be the people that will eventually take care of us. They are the people that eventually is going to continue the city, the states, and so on. A lot of time when you're talking about the role in being the future leaders and citizens, you also want to talk about the growth of the cities and of the population. Here in the city of Port Arthur, when you look at the school district, you look at your population, and it has an impact on the population. That impact can either be one that is of increase or one decrease. And what we mean by that is simply a lot of individuals choose to live in cities based on the school district when they have kids of school age. So that means everyone seeking to work here in the city of Port Arthur, coming from other cities or state, take a hard look at school districts, and they make a decision to reside whereby there's a good school district. So a lot of time it may mean that they have to provide transportation for that child to go to school, but they are willing to do that, and a lot of time they just take the more economical approach in these time and age, which would be the best approach, and that is rather than pay to have the kid to go to a school that is good or have a good academic reputation for having good scores and curriculum, they simply move to that area and they commute back and forth to work. So if you have a good school district, then people don't mind moving to the city and living within the city itself. So you can definitely have an increase in your population, and you can have growth and expansion. And at the same time, if they don't feel comfortable with the school district, then what they normally will do is they will reside in a city or a community nearby, and they will commute themselves back to work, to and from work, just to ensure that their children have the opportunity to attend a good school district and get the education and preparing them for the future. So, you know, when we look at the school district, it's a very vital portion of our community, and it also has an impact on our city and the citizens for which live in our city of Port Arthur. We talked about the road, and you know, there are some problems within school districts. And you know, as I said districts, because what we experience here in Port Arthur, some of these problems, not all, but some of these problems are common to school districts that are predominantly or majority minority students. So it's not a problem that is uncommon, not in just the state of Texas, but probably within the United States. And some of these problems are problems that if they are identified, then they can be addressed. A lot of times, when we say there's a problem, we can't get the proper solution because we haven't really identified the true problem, and then we haven't sought resolutions to solve that particular problem. We have an idea, but we really didn't get the root, or shall I say the real source of that problem. So the first thing you start looking at is areas that you say you have problems in, and then you take a look at addressing those particular problems. And here in our school district, we've seen and we've heard a lot written about administration, having a lot of people in administration, too many people in administration, and you got top heavy, and you need more teachers. You know, that can be determined by knowing what's the makeup of the staffing for our schools. I don't have all that information, so I'm not going to sit here and be an individual say that we have too many administrators, or you know, we too top heavy there. But I can say, based on information that I know to be factual, that I've heard over the time period when we talk about our school and the personnel issue, is the fact that we have individuals that are placed in leadership positions as principals and stuff, and when removed, they're still given other jobs in the administration. You know, well, a lot of times when you create a lot of positions, you're just adding to your administration. And whether there's a need, I and most of us should at least know whether there's a need for it. So to say that it's wrong right from the beginning is not the correct answer. However, that's something that the school district and its board should take a look at and actually have it laid out to them, and then they have to get involved with it and make sure that we're not creating jobs to keep people working as opposed to keeping it to a level whereby we're within our budget and we're paying for individuals for a school based on our student population as opposed to having a school district in which we just keep people employed because we want them employed. So the personnel issue is something that I think that should be addressed here in our school district, and mainly for the sense of either finding out if these positions are valid positions or if they're positions that are created to keep somebody employed. You know, in order to be effective in an organization, and it's not just a school district, but any organization, people have to be more business oriented, you know, and understanding their responsibilities to the community, to the citizens, to the city, and to the students and the parents of students. And that is, we make the right decisions for the right reasons. You know, the hardest thing that decision makers have to do is make hard decisions. And that is to do something that you really don't feel like doing. You hate to do it. You feel bad about doing it. But leaders' decisions are the right decisions for the right reasons. And that's why you're the leaders. Because it's not easy being a leader. But you cannot please all of the people all of the time. And the decisions you make as a leader reflect on your leadership for the simple reason that you are able to make these decisions. And all those who complain or think it's bad, eventually they will come around to see whereby that decision was the right decision. So leaders don't worry about what people think when they have thought and they have really given a lot of considerations and research and made decisions in the best interest of everybody involved. I think we don't do a very good job of that, not just in our school district, but we also don't do very well in that in most of our businesses, even city government. But we have to understand our responsibility to the general public and our citizens as leaders. So on the personnel side of that, you know, hopefully the new school superintendent and school board will work to ensure that the personnel that are serving in our school district meets a need and fall within the budgetary restraints, and also is a valid position as opposed to one to keep a friend or someone you like or a good person employed. Another problem that we hear people talk about, and you hear a lot of comments on, is the discipline of the students and the discipline within our high schools and elementaries and middle schools. You know, discipline of students. It's a hard subject to put your finger on, because it's one of those, which came first, the chicken or the egg? You know, you have to ask yourself, who is responsible for discipline of students within our school district? Is it the teachers and the staff and administrators, or is it parents? You know, well, you have to really take a look at it and ask yourself, who is responsible for establishing the discipline of students? And when you look at it, you kind of think about the chicken and the egg, which came first, because I really feel it's everyone's responsibility in order for it to be an area that will get the attention of everybody. I think everyone has to be focused on what they want to achieve with our young kids and our teenagers and our young adults here in our city. You know, what do we want? What do we expect? What is our role? Well, I don't believe that the discipline of students and in our school district should be left up just to our school board, our school administrators and teachers. I think it's an inherent responsibility of all citizens here in the city of Port Arthur to help in that area. I think that the most responsibility starts with parents, because if you teach the kid discipline within the home and have them to understand what expectations are in the area of discipline, I think it will make the job easier for us, our staff, teachers, and administrators in our school district, for the simple reason that they only have to maintain that teaching and that control of discipline. But I truly believe it starts at home. And if it's starting at home, and that is the basis, then the school district is like an enabler that helps and keep it going. And also citizens, you know, when we're out about as adults, you know, we see young kids doing things wrong, you know, it's good to say something to them. But, you know, be very mindful on how you speak to the kid. Make sure that you're not intimidating, or you're not embarrassing or disrespecting the young person. But if you do it in a positive manner, you know, it can be heard by those individuals. And I truly believe that if you're very polite and courteous when doing so, that you'll get the response that you expect out of the young people. So it's one of these old school theories, you know, everybody raises everybody kid, and we all on the same sheet of music. There's two groups of people, adults and children. All adults require children to respect each other's and others. So everyone is speaking the same lingo. You can't go up there, well, my kid don't do this, my kid don't do that. I doubt if anybody's gonna just tell a little tale on your kid. You know, we have to take the approach that we're all in this together. We all want the same results, and we're all looking for our children to be future leaders. So at that time, we're gonna all put an effort to work together. So, you know, I truly believe the responsibility lies with citizens, adults, parents, and school administrators and staff. So I believe that discipline is going to be an area in which we all have to get together, and we all have to try to work on to help our kids become more disciplined, and especially in the school. And then we start talking about the enforcements of our codes and policies along with that in our school district. You know, the school district has a code for students, and we as parents, citizens, we should all know. We should all know what the school district requires of students, and above all, we need to enforce it. It should be zero tolerance. Any procedure, any policy, any law, any statute, any code is not worth having if you're not going to enforce it. If you're not going to enforce it, it's not worth having. You might as well not even bother with listing it or stating it. So there must be enforcement. And when you enforce it, you have to enforce it all equally. Justice is blind. You must be able to do it and be consistent with it. And once again, it's not only here in our schools, but we could take that a little bit farther and put it in city government and anything we do in life. You know, it should be one set of rules and rules for all. With that, you're listening to the Breeze. 96.9 on the radio dial, 96.9 on radio dial. And if you wish to comment on anything with the school district, feel free to at 982-0247. And with that in mind, we're going to take a 2-minute break. One can probably look at in order to try. Not having anything written in black and white to substantiate whether there's a solution that is designed for it, or whether the school district actually thinks it's a problem, or whether it's just conversation. So we're not sticking with the black and white today for a change, and therefore, you know, feel free to comment on it, because your opinion is the same as mine. There's only an opinion. We left out talking about enforcement of the codes and the policies of the school district, and we mentioned the fact that no matter what they are, the most important part of that is always ensuring that it's done equal, that is on a level playing field. Every student is treated the same, and every student is admonished or punished the same for the same reasons, as opposed to not having a fair system of judgment. And also we talked about financial and budget. You know, our school district, when it comes to financial, I don't think it's any worse off than any school district here in the state of Texas. That once the state started taking away funds, then it became more difficult for schools to do things that they did before, and also to continue operating in the same fashion. So understanding the financial outlook of the school districts here in the state of Texas, I wouldn't say that ours in the area of financial is that much different. But what I can say about that particular area that I noticed with sticking with information that is valid is the fact that your school districts that are a lot of comprised of minorities have more financial problems than those that are in your subdivisions and your outlying communities in cities. And that's because the school district, those are more controlled because the communities are normally smaller, and the communities are made up of a more higher economic median for income within those communities. You know, our school districts surrounding us, Port Neches, Nederland, Bridge City, Lumberton, these are smaller communities than the city of Port Arthur. However, their economic incomes and means are significantly higher than those in the city of Port Arthur, which contribute to their school district being a little better off financially than our school district. But when we talk about finances, we really have to consider our economic medium and the revenue that is generated from taxation here within our city for the school district, and understanding the support that the state is able to provide to our school district. And the other thing that I listed under problem was white flight. You know, Uh, a lot of individuals, when they say white or black, you're talking terms of races and ethnic groups and racism, you know. But when I say white flight here, it's just a term that is referred to whereby most time you have your Caucasians and the whites that are moving outside the inner city, and they're moving into suburbs and subdivisions away from the inner city. And what happens there is that you're left with your students that are tending being inner city students, and we find that most of those students are minorities. And I think that contributes to your makeup of your school districts. You know, as you have more minority population growing within the community and less whites living within the inner city, moving out to your suburbs and your subdivisions outside inner city, normally you find they're building schools near the subdivision or near where they reside, which is a common sense approach. It's not nothing that you or I, no one else would want to do. You know, if we develop a subdivision, then quite naturally we want schools, we want shopping centers out there, we want everything convenient so that we don't have to travel. But the bottom line to it all is it has an impact on your inner city makeup of your school districts. So understanding that it has a negative impact for your inner city school district and your inner city schools, and it's maybe not done with intentions, or maybe it's done with intentions, but it is a fact. And the fact is, it has an impact. And that impact is a negative impact. It is definitely a negative impact. And another area that I listed here to talk about was test scores. You know, when you talk about test scores, I look at it and I just think, you know, what is it going to take for our students to raise the test scores? And I truly believe that the school district is working toward resolving that issue, and the reason being they're doing things toward getting students better prepared for the testing and understanding what it takes. We as citizens, we can actually come up with all the bright ideas in the world, you know, on how we can raise test scores. But unless we really truly know, one, what is being taught, look at me, what is being taught, and what is the problem with students learning it, unless we really are in the school district and really understand what we have to deal with, we really can't come up with solutions on that. You know, I mean, we could read books on what should take place and what you should be doing, but it goes back to who your students are, how you're going about teaching it, what is the results of your teaching, do you recognize what you can do to better it, and it has to be someone within the system, I truly believe, to come up with what it's going to take to improve our test scores. And given the information that the school board, the superintendent, and staff here in our school district know, then I feel that eventually they're going to have to break the code, and I feel that they are the person that really going to have what it takes, the knowledge and experience to break that and get better test scores. But if you look at test scores here in the state of Texas, and you look at the schools that are not doing well, you'll find out these schools are predominantly minorities. So just as our educators are fighting and struggling to find a way to make sure our students can learn and do better on tests and everything within their power, we must understand that that's not a problem that is unique just here in the city of Port Arthur. It is a problem that is unique whereby a school district is majority minority and with a lot of Hispanics. So those are just facts. It's not to talk about or degrade or say that it's wrong. It's not wrong. It's just that this is what we have. This is what we have to deal with. But we have to be able to understand the dynamics. And the dynamics, in order to understand, you actually have to be in the school district and dealing with it as opposed to standing out looking in. You know, we all can look at something and come up with solutions, but sometimes when you don't know all the facts, your solution is nowhere near one that would solve that problem or that issue. And when we start talking about the minority schools and stuff, I think the educators are the ones that are going to have to break this code, and I truly feel that they will, because they do better. So if you keep improving, eventually you're going to get where you want to be, because you're constantly tweaking your wheel and you're constantly working on it. And not being in the school district. Okay, we got a caller. I'm glad somebody decided to talk. Come on, caller, help me out this morning.
Yeah, look here. I was calling about to come in on about the school districts and all that stuff about education, about the testing. This is just my opinion. Like I say, you got quite a few educated people that's retired, that's out there. If you love your community, you love your schools, your districts, your students, look like you would volunteer your time, because a lot of times a lot of teachers that retire, they say they don't have nothing to do. They can go there and go in the classroom with the permission of the superintendent and the school board and all that. They go in the classroom, help the teachers out, split the schools and students in parts, and teach them and go over the test with them. Just volunteer your time, because you're educated and you can help, you know how to teach. And another thing I'd like to come in on, like I said, discipline starts at home first. If you got your children disciplined at home and you tell them respect the teacher, because the teacher got there, you go there to learn and respect them. And another thing you was talking about is by being fair when it comes to discipline of a child at school. No, it's not fair, in my opinion. The reason why I say that is you being bullied. Tell the teacher, tell the policeman that's there, which when we was living in school, we didn't have that. All the time policemen came to school from the outside when children was fighting or some gang was around there or somebody trying to do something they had in the business. But if I'm an innocent child, I'm getting slapped. Ain't too many times you gonna slap me, I ain't retaliate.
That's right.
Okay, when I retaliate, no, I'm in the right, defending myself. We both get faulted for the same thing. That ain't fair. Because you got witnesses and they say he didn't start it. So they should just split the child that started, not the one that's defending themselves, being victimized behind this rule. And I don't see that. And that's what kind of irritates me. Because there ain't no way I'm going to be bullied and keep being bullied. And you tell the teacher, they tell the police they can only do so much. But when you retaliate by defending yourself, all of a sudden they want to give you the same treatment? That's unfair. And that happened a whole lot. But that's what I have to compliment on.
Well, I thank you for your call, caller, and I agree 100% in everything you said. And I'm glad that there's others that see it the same way I see it. And as far as the instances whereby we seeing the bullying or someone hitting someone fair, when I talked about enforcing policies and stuff, I'm speaking exactly on what you said. If a kid is attacked and the kid has to defend himself, you can't just be beat down and you wait to go see the teacher. I mean, that's not gonna help you. So, I agree with you, you know, but if they do a fair investigation with witnesses and everything, they gonna determine who hit and who started it, and that's the person should be disciplined. You should not discipline nobody for protecting themselves. And somebody most of the time gonna be a witness, and you probably could get to the bottom of it. But you're absolutely correct. If a person who defends themselves have to be suspended and disciplined, then we have a problem within our system. So once again, I thank you for your comments, and I agree 100% with you, and thank you very much. They were very down to earth and right to the point. Thank you for your comments.
Okay, I have one more if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Look here, when you're talking about the community and sub areas, you know, outside the line of the school, of the city itself, and the community should have, if it's an outside community or a gated community just started, they should have schools or wherever you want, shopping centers, that's good. But I'm talking about within the city of Port Arthur. If you ain't gonna tear these buildings down, these beautify them with some paint, throw some paint on. If you throw a bucket of paint on it a little bit and not have no paint at all. If I go down 7th Street, I can look back at downtown and I see them big rusted buildings. And the tallest building down there, if they tear more buildings down, the tallest thing be down there is the pavilion that they doing this work to. At the same time, when they building these houses around here, build a house to the same size that you tore down at least. I'm saying there's 2 bedrooms, the rooms are wider, they are bigger. And like I say, the best thing they add is 2 bathrooms, that is fine. But at the same time, don't be building these little shop town houses and make it look like Jonestown. Ain't nobody want to build a house next to build a community next to a little house like that. It looks like a sharpshooter. Well, you got to have a vision in Port Arthur to see things that, hey, I want to bring my community back up. I want to have the west side. Why they didn't put a community over there? Like, they got a lot of land around here. They can start building up the neighborhoods back and build them up right. But people want to come here. Because you got to find schools, you got to do schools. And like the teacher's trying, I respect the teacher. You know, when a teacher teaches class, she got 20 or 30 students with different ethics, different backgrounds, different attitudes. You don't know what that child went through the night before. Some children eat from Monday to Friday. God help them on Saturday and Sunday. They ain't got no food. They can't wait till Monday to come back to school. And see, that's a lot of things going in households that's having a big issue on life itself out there with kids and students and the teachers. I admire the teachers because the fact is, I'm dealing with my kids from my house. I know my kids. But these teachers are dealing with kids from all different households and backgrounds and neighbors. So they got to deal with this, and I admire for that. Because you don't know what that child went through or what they going through. They hate to go home. Some kids hate to go home because they know what they're stored for. So what I'm saying, the community, the pull together, if you see something that you don't like, like I said, if you see something that's wrong, step into it, like you said, get the authorities to get involved. Look at the community and stuff, like you say, from years that we was coming up.
Carla, I don't want to cut you off, but I was talking about school district, but what I want, I'm going to give you my telephone number. My telephone number is 960-1045. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to schedule a show with It's Your City, and I want you to call me, and I want you to come on, and I'm going to get some other citizens, and I'm going to come on, and I'm going to give y'all the hour. And I want y'all to talk, because I'm listening to you talk, right? And I truly believe that our citizens need to hear these things, and they need to hear from us citizens. So rather than you trying to get it all in on this phone call, you give me a number, and I'm going to schedule the show probably within the next 3 weeks. I'm going to do a show where I'm going to ask a couple of more citizens to come in, and it's going to be It's Your City, and guess what? Y'all going to be free to talk about everything that you all want. And I want to do that for you because I see you got a lot to say, is not pertaining just to my school district, but because you got a lot to say and what you're saying makes so much sense to me, I feel you really should be able to have that time on the air. So, if you don't mind, give me a call and I'm gonna get a show and I'll get you and a couple more citizens to come in and I'm gonna call it the Citizens Day for It's Your City.
Appreciate it.
And I want you to say that because what you're saying, citizens need to hear, but they need to get on board with what you're saying. The mentoring in the school, if you really care, take the time. All the retired teachers, yeah, they got the background. Do it to help our kids. So I want you to call me, and we're gonna get a show for the Citizens Day on this your city because of your comments. And I can see right now that you're gonna be addressing issues, and I like the way you address them. And it has a lot of logic and a lot of substance to it. So I want you to have more time. So how about doing that for me, please?
I sure will, and I sure appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for calling in.
All right, thank you, man. Y'all be blessed.
All right. Outstanding call there from that caller, and I guess because I listened to what he said, and because it brought to my mind that a lot of times people have a lot to say. So, and it's something that I never really thought about, but I'm glad he did. I'm going to get a show here within the next 2-3 weeks. It's going to be a citizens time on It's Your City because it's your city. You're the citizens, and you should be able to come in and voice your opinion and just talk. You know, get it off your chest because there's so many people that feel the same way you do. You know, and when he talks about going back to help mentor and stuff, you know, that's getting involved rather than just talking. That's getting involved. When he's talking about the state of the schools, that's something that I had listed is, you know, I mean, everybody care about history and stuff, but when I travel around the city, the state, the United States, I see schools being built, state-of-the-art type schools. You look at them and they look nice and attractive. And I just feel that our schools are so old that our kids, they need to walk into a state-of-the-art school. You know, I mean, something that is up to date. I mean, I feel bad for our kids knowing what type of school they go into compared to what I be seeing as I travel. You know, we owe it to them. So we need to keep all these things in mind. And when we talk about being able to deal with what you have and making it work, you know, it reminded me when I was in the military, I was teaching military science in college. They sent me to West Texas State University, it's West Texas A&M now, in Canyon, Texas, up there near Amarillo. Now, I'm from Port Arthur, Texas. They sent me to the Panhandle. Nothing but cowboys and tumbleweed, okay? I go to this university, and this university is 90+% white up there. All the black students, I knew almost every black student on campus because they were either athletes, they're on scholarships. I said, and I taught ROTC. And during the summers, you send the students to summer camp and they come back. Well, they had to be evaluated at summer camp. They had a system of 3 to 5. Those who get 5s, only 10% of that whole camp get a 5. So they forced the evaluators and people evaluating them to have a system in which they could separate the top notch. And 4s were considered good. And you had only a certain percent of those. And then everybody else get 3s. That means you were just another cadet. Well, at this university, we'll take the cadets out maybe once or twice during the semester for a little training. They go to summer camp, they come back, they making 4s, 5s, a few 3s. And all of a sudden, I get transferred. I go from the Panhandle to a school that's 90+% Caucasian to Southern University, Baton Rouge. About 98% black. And I go to this university, I'm doing the same job. But the problem is, when I look at camp results, the students going to camp. So what I did, I started looking at why the cadets are not doing well. I come from a university where all we do is teach, take them out a couple of times a year, and they go to camp and they scoring 4s and 5s. And here, everybody's scoring 3s. Well, what I found was, at Southern University, the cadets wouldn't come to class but when they wanted to. They wouldn't take them out to the exercise to get them to do the hands-on training, but maybe once a semester. So I looked at it, I said, well, you know, that's why they're not doing good at camp. Then, when you're teaching, they're not comprehending it because of the pace you're going. So what I did, I decided, one, you're going to come to class. So we instituted a policy that you only miss so many classes. Then your scholarship is going to be taken from you, and if you wasn't on a scholarship, then your grade was going to be impacted. So now they started coming to class. The next thing I did, I started taking them to the field to do the actual training now. Instead of once or twice a semester, I was taking them at least about every other week. And they were doing it over and over and over. And when we went to camp, needless to say, they were coming back with 4s and 5s. So it was the fact that I recognized that I went from one environment to another environment of students, and I just had to understand, what do I need to do with these students to get them to give me the results that I had gotten from these group of students. So one group of students I only went to the field with like once or twice a semester. This group I've gone 5 and 6 times a semester. So yeah, I was going to the field more often. I had to work a little bit harder. And this group of students came to classes. This group of students came when they wanted. So I realized I need to get them in the classroom, so we instituted something to get in the classroom, and I figured in order for them to understand it better, take them and have them do it more often. So, and that's what I mean about when you're teaching the people you have to teach, as opposed to just teaching. You can't teach one way and go to another school with a different category of students and expect to do the same thing. If I had done that, they would have continued to do 3s. So I believe that that's what it's going to take here in our district is innovation. Innovations. I think it's going to take them finding out what they need to do in order to teach the students we have. Like the caller said, bring in mentors, tutors, retired teachers. We know we have a large Hispanic population, and we know that communications is a barrier. Well, guess what? Some of these mentors and tutors ought to be Hispanics, so that they can communicate and work with the Hispanic students. You just have to get innovative. You have to be able to deal with what you have. You know the old saying that the kids say, it is what it is. So you have to be able to sit down and say, I have to teach this in a fashion that I could get them to understand. I remember reading it was an article about a teacher that had taught kids a subject or something, but it was minority kids, so the teacher put it in the form of a rap and had them to rap it. And they learned it. That's what I'm talking about, innovation. It ain't how you do it, is what the results of what you do. And that's what we need. And as the caller said, let's not leave it up to just the school board, the principals and the superintendents and the teachers. Let's ask, what can we do? Let's help. You know, hopefully this city and our city government will understand that it has to have a strong relationship between our city government and our school. The leaders in our city government should have a close relationship with our leaders in our school districts. Your school superintendent and the mayor of your city should constantly be in talk with what it takes to help one another. What can our government do to help our school district? What can the school district do to help our government? But it's a partnership. It's not them and us. You know, we need to understand what it means to work together, to help, to support, and to work. This week past, I saw the program. It was on television on the news where a father had started this group of dads. It was on dads. And these dads went to the school on a certain day and they worked with their kids. They helped them and they ate with them and they talked to them. But it was all dads. All the dads. So it's so many things going on that are becoming ways that people are doing things in order to make it better. And that's one thing that we need to understand. It's not them, it's not us. It needs to be we. When you see the city of Port Arthur, it's the city of Port Arthur. That means everything within the city limits and its extraterritorial jurisdiction is the responsibility of all of us. Not the elected leaders, not the people who head our school district. It's about us, the citizens of Port Arthur. Our school district, we need to stop criticizing, but we need to ask, what can I do? Is there anything I can do to help? Let's start the DAD program. Let's get involved. Parents, start disciplining your kids. Help. If we want it to be what it should be, we need to get involved. And once again, you listen to The Breeze, 96.9 on the FM, with this your city, Harold Doucet hosting. And today we talked about the Port Arthur Independent School District. And next week we're gonna crank it up because it's election time. So trust me, we'll be wired up on this your city. That's for sure, because you know, you will be given information, and that information is going to be something that you should and must consider in order to make the right choices in the upcoming elections. Once again, that information will be given to you. It will be only factual information. Once again, if you're going to be given information on opinion, you will be told from the beginning. That's today's show, in which we all had our opinion today, and we all respected it. And I got a great comment and a good call, and I love that comment. But we're going to crank it up next week. And we're gonna give you some factual information, and when you're given that information, I'll tell you where you can find it. You see for yourself, but people, please consider the information that is given to you and make the right choices. If you want to see a change, you gotta create a change. In order to create a change, you gotta make sure that you know what you're doing and doing the right things for the right reasons. And if you do that, then you're gonna know one thing. Papa, Sonny, man, they will be satisfied. Once again, it's your city. See you next Monday.
You have just heard your weekly program